I always use that physical image because he really did that with the bread and the blood. That powerful moment of, and you grab that and you would eat that, you would savor that. Wouldn't you do the same if into the middle of your crises and your storms, Jesus said, my peace, here you go. All you gotta do is take it. And you reach out and grab that piece, and you would just, everything else would melt away. So why don't we have that? Because we have ignored the last part of that verse where Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Right before that, he said, my peace I leave with you, not as the world leaves their peace, do I leave it with you. There's three parts to that verse. My peace I leave with you, not as the world leaves it, leave I with you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. They all build on each other. I'm going to give you peace, but the reason why a lot of you are not going to be able to take it is because you're only going to receive it the way you receive it from the world. And the way you receive it from the world is peace is just the absence of bad news. So as long as there's bad news, I can have no peace. And if I have it, I got to pay for it. And Jesus says, I'm going to give you a peace that is never going to be like the world. So if the world says that peace is the absence of bad news, and that if you get it, you're going to earn it, what if you get Jesus' peace, which is nothing like the world? That must mean that peace happens even in the middle of bad news. And it must mean that you don't have to pay for it. The perfect moment of peace is when Jesus gets on the boat with his disciples and he says, let's go over to the other side. And he goes to sleep. He's tired. Maybe he doesn't start out to teach an object lesson. He's just tired. And it's really comfy on that boat. So he just falls asleep. And it's blissful. And it's wonderful. And here comes a storm. And it's tragic. And they're professional fishermen and they're freaking out. And they don't know what to do. So you go, what do you do when you don't know what, if you're a professional fisherman and you're in the middle of a storm and you don't know what to do, you go wake up the carpenter. Because that makes perfect sense. Go get someone who's completely outside of their genre and ask them to take over. It would be like David calling me and saying, hey, Paul, I got a case, don't know how to handle it. You want to come and argue this one for me? They go, yeah, if you're ready to lose, let's go for it. You know, and that the disciples go wake up the carpenter. Well, of course they believe he's more than a carpenter. That's why they wake him up. We understand that. And he just looks past their foolishness and he walks to the edge of the boat and he speaks to the storm and he says, in the Greek emphasis is tough. The English cleans up. You know, we cleaned up a lot of stuff in the English Bible because we're so sensitive. We can't take it the way the Greek, Jesus looks at the storm and says, shut up. There's an emphatic boldness in the Greek to what Jesus says. It's basically, shut up. You've already made enough noise. Which tells me the storm was not from God. Otherwise, Jesus rebuked his own father. God didn't send him the storm to teach him a lesson. It's the cares of this life. It's the rocking of the boat that happens in the world. And yet Jesus is showing you what it means to have peace in the midst of hell. By the way, Jesus is not teaching you how to rebuke storms. That's not the lesson he wanted them to learn. Because he turns and says to them, oh, you have little faith. The lesson he wants them to learn is how to sleep in the middle of storms. Boys, take that. When he offers them his peace, they remember these moments. He's the kind of guy that can sleep in the middle of disaster. I'm going to grab some of that. He's the kind of guy that can face his detractors and not panic. He doesn't have to grow smart-alecky in response to a smart-aleck comment. He doesn't have to get violent in the response to violence. When people smart off to him, it's not necessary that he smart off in return so that he can show his manhood. Jesus never seemed to really care if people thought he was manly enough, smart enough, quick enough, slick enough, wise enough. Sometimes his answers were unconventional. Sometimes his answers were unconvincing. Sometimes his stories led you further away from where you wanted to go than when you started. In fact, he even said, I only teach in parables because I don't want them to know the answer. I don't want to reveal it to them now. I want it to be revealed to them by the Father through the Spirit. I want you to have this inside, not out here, in here. So I'm going to show you how to live that way. I'm going to show you how not to worry so much about what people think of you. So Jesus is always saying little things like, my time has not yet come, or in response to people trying to tell him how to live. It's incredible. It's fascinating. But that's peace. It's where I want to dwell. It's where I want to live.